you're a guy in the business who's extremely talented, extremely creative, but extremely loyal. So much so that you're talking to some schmuck in Jersey in a shed right now when you have you have a lot going on, and you're talking to me. Hey, welcome to the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. It's your fatherless friend, Andrew. And today, it's a dad hang. Talking to a good buddy of mine. His name is Adam Reynolds. You may know him as producer Adam from the Rulebreakers podcast with Saraya. He's a great guy. I've been working with him for years as a colleague, producing some of my projects. My writing partner and I, Matt, our projects. And he's just a great guy. He's got 4 kids. He's working his tail off. He's super creative. He's a great photographer. He's great behind the scenes. But now on this Rulebreakers podcast, he has a little bit more of a presence as he's on camera a little bit, and he's doing great with that. And it was so nice to catch up with him. We both have a love and a history with baseball, and he tells us a little bit about his children, his career, his old man, and the connection to baseball. So I hope you enjoy it on the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. All right, welcome to the Fatherless Cheat Sheet. I'm very happy to have who I consider to be a good friend. We've worked together. I think he did a line budget for me about 12 years ago, and I haven't left him alone since.
Has it been that long?
It's been a long time, maybe a decade. Adam Reynolds, thanks for coming, dude.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a wild journey to get to this place.
Yeah, and you've got a lot going on. We're both personally and professionally. I want to talk about all that stuff and how you're. First of all, how you doing? You hanging in there? You need a hug? I mean, I know I'm across the country, but
I mean, I could probably use a hug. I'll start off by saying I bit off more than I can chew.
Yeah.
I'm coaching my son's little league team, and I got 13 6-year-olds running around, and god damn is it hard to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a lineup right now and positions, and I'm thinking like, we've had one practice, and it's going to be, we'll see how it goes on Saturday, tomorrow for the game.
That's not easy. My suggestion is just stay strong up the middle. That's what you do. Stay strong up the middle and stay strong. Your constitution has to be strong. It's just hurting cats at that point. You just want them to have a good time. But that's really great that you're doing that. And I coached my daughter in kickball last year, and I'm going to coach softball this year. She's about the same age. She's turning 6 pretty soon. And I think that you'd agree, it's that time spent together, the extra time.
Yeah.
So,
it's the idea of like, I sent out a message to the team parents and everything. I said, look, it's not about skills. It's about having fun. It's about, hopefully they absorb some knowledge and some skill set and improve throughout the season. But I want them laughing. I want them smiling. I want them to show up and be like, actually want to come to the games, because I've had some coaches in the past. It's like, it's uncomfortable. And you're like, wow, you're yelling at the kids. Why are you yelling at the kids right now?
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's have fun. So.
Yeah, he should probably listen to the Fatherless Cheat Sheet, because I think he's working out some stuff from his childhood. If I had
probably,
to think, all that stuff. It's literally just about having them have a good time and learning some stuff that they won't hurt themselves, and then they get better every year. But you don't want to spoil that for them when they're 6, 7, 8 years old.
No.
So anyway, but good on you, man. Because you don't have enough going on. You have how old are the twins now?
They are 4 months.
4 months old.
So I've got 4 kids. I have an 11-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old son, and then a boy and girl twins. So I'm divorced. The 11 and 6-year-old are from my ex, and we've got a great relationship. We get on really well. We co-parent really well, and that's been really important, especially as we kind of get into this coaching space. It's, without giving away too much, it's been interesting because some of the parents who are divorced have been reaching out to me and sharing just challenges of custody battles and getting kids there for practice and games. And it made me realize yesterday, and I talked to my kids about this, that how lucky we are to have mom and dad get on really well, where we're like, we want the kids to be there. We're not being defensive and blocking an opportunity for them to get into a practice or something. So that's been good.
Yeah, that's great, and I think once you can, I mean, that's life is very complicated, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you're doing the best you can, and I think that's the way when you put the kids first and just figuring it out, and that's all. So
Yeah.
again, good on you.
And I will say this, that I love the twins. It's been an absolute joy to watch a boy and girl develop simultaneously. It's
Yeah.
kind of a mind fuck. Um, they're my partner, she's originally from New Zealand, so the
Mhm.
twins are actually back in New Zealand right now,
Okay.
and I have a couple weeks of just, full nights of sleep, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, sleep's important, and I was
Yeah.
gonna say you look pretty relaxed, which is a good thing. You need that a little
Thanks.
bit. You
Thanks. Still need that hug, though, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a bear hug when I see you. When I come out there, I'll give you a
Perfect.
nice bear hug. But getting now, I want to talk a little bit about again how you're weaving all this together.
Sure.
Rulebreakers is a huge podcast with Saraya, and
Yep.
it's doing great. It's really enjoyable. The chemistry is off the charts and a lot of
Thanks,
fun.
man.
Can you tell me about the origin of it? I know you just finished season one, right?
Sure. Yeah, we just finished season one. Rule Breakers with Saraya is a very uh, great project. Is kind of a team of misfits and unlikely characters all getting together. Before we started recording, you called out that everyone balances each other out really well, and
Hmm.
appreciate that compliment. And it's definitely something that we felt and realized we kind of have a bit of magic and lightning in a bottle, if you will, in this show.
Hmm.
And the way it started was I was at UTA, United Talent Agency, here in Los Angeles, and I was head of their podcast division, the physical production company called Clamor Audio, and RIP Clamor Audio. But
Yeah, I
we
knew it well.
we it was a really great time, and I never imagined myself as someone who would be at a talent agency. But
Mm,
when I started there, I realized like which was in the midst of the pandemic, it was this realization that talent agencies are really at the center of everything, and
mhm,
they have their hand controlling everything and their finger on the pulse of what's going to happen and kind of when it's going to happen. And we, as a kind of Hail Mary pass to try and keep the production company and division alive, we were taking on internal projects with clients and starting to launch chat shows. And prior to
mhm,
that, we were chasing, narrative, scripted fiction and, limited series shows, which the market had kind of moved past. And we were trying to play catch up. And so I met Saraya through this incubator program at UTA. We were going to launch it internally, and then we shut down. And so
mhm.
Saraya was like, "Well, I'd still love to work with you." And of course, in traditional Hollywood fashion, I'm thinking, "Yeah, okay, sure. I'll. It was great to know you. We'll see if that ever happens."
Yeah.
Well, her agents, Allison and Ben, shout out to them, who are both incredibly awesome. They're great
Mhm,
former colleagues, they're great friends. They were able to sell her show to a network and get a minimum guarantee at a time when most networks weren't putting up money. So we just finished basically a year ago. We started the show and
mhm.
we did 45 episodes of it.
Wow.
Saraya is a former wrestler. For those of you who aren't
Mhm,
familiar, she comes from the UK, and she had a really prominent rise in the WWE at the age of, I think she signed with them at 18 years old,
mhm,
and became a really important figure in the female space at a time when it was like blondes and big tits and everything. This was like, here's Saraya, this goth chick, and she started this entire movement. And to this day is still kind of known as the OG in the space for that. And
mhm,
so coming back to the sale of her show, she called me up and said, "Hey, so I'd still love to hire you as a producer." And I was just like, "Wait, what?" So it
yeah,
started as a me just coming in to run production for her through Denim Pictures, which is our production company. And
mhm,
then one thing led to another. And her manager at the time was like, "Hey, I think she needs a co-host. Can you kind of
mhm.
step in?" I'm like, I'm not, I'm behind the camera. I'm not in front of the camera." Well, cut to 45 episodes later, and I'm now known as Producer Adam. I
Yeah,
have my uniform, which is a blue Patagonia puffer jacket and an Orioles hat. Not this one, but got to rep
yeah, yeah.
Baltimore. And yeah, it's been really fun. It's great chemistry. Joey, who is one of her best friends and oldest friends, runs social. He's the
Mhm.
kind of mastermind behind a lot of like creative strategy behind it. She's obviously just a force to be reckoned with and has a ton of charisma. She's off the rails, and yeah, we have so much fun together. So it's been great.
Yeah, you can see it, you could feel it, and the thing you said before about when Saraya said that she wanted you to produce and you're like, "Ah, I don't think if I had to take a guess, I don't mean to speak out of turn, I wouldn't want her to, body slam me, but
Oh
I don't think
no,
she says anything that she doesn't mean if I
yeah,
had to take a guess." I like how honest she is, she doesn't seem to give a half a shit, and so I think that's why it works, and what I said to you before is I think that your presence on the show is a very calming presence and just you need that tether sometimes to just for the volley, for the back and forth works
sure.
really well. So I think it's great, and I think it's a good. I know you fairly well, and I think that you're a very creative person who
Thanks, man.
has the ability and capability to present, to be on camera. I've always thought that. So I
Thank
think
you.
it's a great entry into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it, and I will say, just a humble kind of moment of it's surreal. There was an episode that we did where we went to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights, and we got
Hmm.
a VIP tour around the lot. And my buddy Charles, who I've known since college, came with us, and we're 15 minutes into Universal walking around, and this woman comes up to her. I was like, "Oh my god, Saraya, like, I love your podcast, like, I'm so excited about it," and Charles and Joey and I were kinda standing off to the side, and then she turns and sees me, "It's producer Adam," and I was just like and my friend Charles looks at me, he goes, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, this is strange." So,
Yeah.
I say all that because it's surreal to step into that, but it's also been really interesting to see and hear from people and fans that have written her letters that have said
Hmm.
truly, like, "You have no idea how much your show has impacted my life and helped save me from whether it be addiction or, domestic abuse or
Hmm.
just struggles and wanting to be seen and heard." And I think that's what's really rewarding is you start to hear those stories from the community,
Hmm.
and that's cool. We're making a difference,
Yeah.
and I think we want more of that, and so we're shopping for a network for season 2, which we're aiming to kick off sometime in the spring. We don't have firm dates on that, but
Mhm.
I will say we actually um, just announced today that we are going to be doing our first live recording at
Nice.
Vegas at the Palms Hotel
Okay.
on April 17th. So, right before WrestleMania, we will be in Vegas and doing something,
Excellent.
and we are really, really, really excited about it. It should be a
That's
fun
great.
time to jump into that. So, yeah,
That's really fantastic. That's gonna
it's
be a
cool.
blast. Okay, I'm gonna go to, Expedia when I get into the house, and, I'll run it by the boss first
Yeah.
and see if I can get out there.
Yeah.
But no, that's great, and I think that's where things are going, and not with her experience with wrestling, she's absolutely optimal for a live
Oh, for
experience. I
sure.
mean, that's how she thrives, I'm sure. And I think in
Yeah.
terms of people connecting with the show and feeling inspiration from it, when you see someone with Soraya's outlook and attitude where nothing seems to stop her
Yeah.
whatsoever. She doesn't give a shit. People go, "Oh wait, you could approach life like that." That's really encouraging, and especially I have 2 daughters, and I want them to live like that. They don't
Yeah.
answer to anybody. Well, they maybe daddy and mommy, but
Yeah.
they don't have to answer anyway. They could live their life the way they want. I think that is really great to have that out there and that message. Again, the show at the end of the day, when you're washing dishes, you're folding laundry, you're driving to your job, when you could put something on that just it makes you
Yeah.
smile and it's a good chemistry and fun, that's a positive. I don't care who says it. So
100%. And I will say kind of last thing, Soraya is such a daddy's girl at the end of the day, and she has a great relationship with her father.
mhm.
It's been cool to see that unfold and to
Yeah,
the voice memo exchanges that we get and the love that she has for him and how much she cares for him, and he always calls her his princess, and that's
yeah,
it's the type of thing is like, father of 2 daughters. It's like you want that relationship.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
I think what's been interesting too is she's kind of looking for someone. It's like at the end of the day, she thinks she wants someone who's like her dad that's gonna
Yeah.
be there for her. And as tough as she presents, she's still she wants love and romance at heart.
Of
Like, she's still
course, of
very
course.
kind, so
And you know what? And that sets the bar. That sets the
yep,
bar high. Men with fathers with daughters. You are setting that example, and that's important to do because you don't want your daughters to accept anything less. You don't have to go crazy all the time. I think it's just, I think it's just being there. I think it's presence and the interest you have in your children, even with boys as well, just to be there and to provide that presence is so important. And we talk about it on the show all the time, obviously, because, Adam, as you know, in general, I know you have a good relationship with your dad. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but fatherlessness has many iterations. It's not just
mhm,
my dad passed when I was 3, grew up without an old man. Sometimes your old man's around and he's an absolute shithead. I've said that before.
yeah,
And, or he's a sweetheart. He works 70 hours a week driving a truck across country and you don't see him.
yep,
And so, anyways, but I think that it's a lot of exciting stuff with the show and I'm excited for you because I tell you
thanks,
what,
man.
you're a guy in the business who's extremely talented, extremely creative, but extremely loyal, so much so that you're talking to some schmuck in Jersey in a shed right now when you have a lot going on, and you're talking to me because you're a good friend, and I appreciate you.
You are not a schmuck. I respect the fact that you're in a shed. That's fucking cool. I actually just built a shed over I actually didn't build it, but my parents were out on the West Coast for Christmas and, we're in the midst of trying to raise twins and, like,
Mhm.
adjust to that life. And, my told my brother and my dad, I was like, "You know what the Christmas present is I want from you guys? Just build me this aluminum shed right behind the garage," which is where I am.
Yeah.
And, yeah, love a good shed. You gotta have
Yeah,
it.
man. You gotta have storage. Look, there's so many things that you learn along the way as a dad, but you gotta have storage. Now let's talk
Yeah.
about we're talking about the career. So, aside, take money out of it for a second. Take monetary out of it because we all wanna earn. Has your perception of success changed since you've had your children in terms of working in the business? What you consider successful?
100%.
Mhm,
I would say, I when I started, and I'll give a brief kind of rundown on my trajectory. I started as a production assistant for Mad TV. After Mad TV shut down, I was there for 3 seasons. I went over to the documentary space for a year, came back from the documentary space because I was like, honestly, I was bored by it.
mhm,
Um, I was fortunate enough to do the first 3 seasons of Workaholics with Comedy Central. I was a production coordinator, then production manager on that, and then from there jumped to some TV shows with Amazon. I did the Key and Peele pilot, and then Warner Brothers, the whole gamut of TV. And in between TV shows, I was producing commercials because,
mhm.
for TV, you're working for anywhere from 2 to 4 months, maybe 5 months at a time. You're working 40 to 60 hours a week. You don't really see your family. You don't see your partner much. It's a grind, but there's that hustle and mindset of, oh, I've got to make it. And
Yeah,
I entered the industry at a time when I think we were kind of on my 2 business partners and I were actually chatting about this at dinner last night. We entered a time kind of like the tail end of the golden age for
huh,
television, if you will. And I'll come back to that now because it's relevant with what's happening with Paramount and the Ellisons
yeah,
buying Warner Brothers. But we were always chasing that, like, what is the next opportunity? How do we level
mhm,
up? How do we become a higher production executive? How do we oversee more shows? How do we sell a show? How do we do this? It was always about that career chase. And in between TV shows, I was producing in the commercial space and kind of was with different agencies there, was finally brought in to join an agency here in LA full time as their head of production, built out their internal production company, was doing a ton of stuff in that space at the height of the Instagram boom for advertising.
yeah,
And then that collapsed. And that was at the rise just before the pandemic of podcasting. And I started to get into that space. And originally it was like podcasting is easy. It's, 3 line items compared to like 75 on a
Right.
commercial or a TV show. And, we kind of laughed at the space initially and dismissed it, but then that started to build momentum. And
Mhm.
I actually joined UTA at the height of the pandemic, so July of 2020. And that was really interesting to take a TV production mindset, scale it down to a commercial budget, and build a podcast infrastructure and foundation that most people didn't have and they weren't thinking
Right.
about it because the industry just wasn't there yet. So, all of this to come back and say, my version of success has gone from leveling up as a production executive to getting to UTA and having a very handsome salary while I was there with the idea
Mhm.
of full benefits and like, cool, there's a bonus at the year end. Like, that's
Right.
amazing. I've never had that before. To where I am now, which is I'm freelance and I'm full time with my production company, Denim Pictures,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to make payroll for myself this month. Just
Right.
speaking transparently. And that's fucking terrifying.
Mhm.
And I've looked at the idea of like, well, I could try to apply for full time jobs. Like, there's a Netflix job that I'm debating whether I apply for. And, you know, frankly, it's like the salary for that ups annual salary up to $340,000 a year.
Oh.
That would be game changing.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
But I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that because I have the freedom and the flexibility to be present for my kids right now,
Yeah.
to be able to coach my son's little league practice at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, to be able to take my daughter to dance class at 4:15 on a Wednesday, to be able to, you know, take a Thursday afternoon with them and to do those things, and that freedom and flexibility of being a parent and to be present,
Mhm.
that's success. And I
Yeah.
think that like the financial side of it is like, I don't know, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, is it terrifying? Yeah, it is, because how do you pay for the bills, especially with twins, when you're spending, $350 a month on formula? It's like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
It's
And that's not even
crazy.
diapers. But like, the point is, I'm trying to, and I'm not a religious person, but I believe in karma and I believe in the timing of things. And I will say that, I was raised with a dad who was very present
Mhm.
during my early days, and he was there. He was my baseball coach. He taught me to never give up. And, and I'll come back around in a second and we
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
can touch on this, but the idea of a fatherless cheat sheet, what hit me in that moment, and I love my dad and I have a great relationship with him, but when I went to high school, I was recruited to my high school for baseball, and
Mhm.
he'd been there all along for baseball. And then all of a sudden, he'd taken a job, he sold his business and had taken a job for the company that bought it in upstate New York, and we lived in
Mhm.
Baltimore.
Mhm.
So, my freshman year in high school, suddenly, like, I'm going to a new high school, different people, I'm trying to fit in, and
Right.
suddenly my rock, my dad, was only in my life for 2 days every other weekend.
Mhm.
That is such a mindfuck and a disruption, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was lost, and you try to find that, and I think, like, now I remember that, and I'm just trying to bring it back and be present for my kids as much as possible. Again, divorced, I'm starting a new family.
Yeah.
I like to think of it more as, like, growing the family, not starting
Yeah.
a new family, but I wanna be there for all those things because I missed so much of that also early days, like, chasing this career of, like, "Oh, I gotta hustle, I gotta be on this TV
Yeah.
show, I gotta do this." Like, no, you don't. Like, I'm sorry, but fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
I see there's too many relationships that have failed. One of my own, like, it's just because of that. And
Yeah.
trying to shift priorities and just be a more present, more grounded, just father and parent.
That couldn't be a better North Star. And
Thanks, man.
so many of us we're so hard on ourselves because you do need the pragmatism to earn a living, but time is the commodity. As a very quick story, my wife and I went to dinner a week and a half ago or so. It was right around Valentine's Day, and not on Valentine's Day. We're not amateurs, right? But there was a couple sitting next to us because we got to dinner at like 5:30, so early bird special, and so because the girls were at home with grandma, but the couple next to us, we just started chatting with them. It's just sort of what we do. It happens. We were close
Yeah.
proximity, and they said it was their 50th Valentine's Day. 50th Valentine's Day. And this guy, people who just look clean, like this guy just
Yeah.
looked clean and wealthy and stuff like that. And he looked like he worked every day of his life the whole time. And he said, I think I said something like, I'm always sourcing knowledge. I said, what's the secret? And with your kids and everything. And he said, I should have worked less.
Yeah.
I should have worked less. And that's easy to say in hindsight because I'm sure he provided what a wonderful life for those kids.
Sure.
But it's true. If you could find a balance to be there, and I think you're doing your damnedest, and you just keep on the road, dude. You're a
Thanks,
great
man.
dad, and you're a good man, and all the creative will come out. And you're an extremely talented photographer as well. I was mentioning that before, which is I'll have everybody check out your Instagram and stuff like
Thanks,
that. But
dude.
let's talk about because I saw that you signed in as Ken Griffey Jr. and I know that's not your name on your birth certificate. But
Nope.
let's talk about. Can we talk about baseball a little bit? Let's talk about baseball, sort of in relation to your dad. Let's stick
Sure.
with that,
Sure.
and how that kind of bonded you guys over the years and where that took you.
I'm happy to get in that very quickly before we jump into that. I just want to
Yeah.
give you a shout out and compliment. You're doing it. You're doing the thing. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that a lot of people face in terms of their careers and trying to figure it out. It's like, don't keep chasing the titles. Like, if there's something you want to do, go do it and start it.
Yeah.
And like that momentum will build. And so a quick props to you. I know we had talked about this podcast. You're like, I think I might do it. And it's like, yeah, fucking do it. And here we are. And it's really cool to see you in that space. So
Thanks,
shout
man.
out
I
to you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
In terms of like, what was the question in terms of baseball
Just
with my dad?
just you and your old man. Baseball, how that bonded you. What were car rides on the way home from games? What was that like? All of it. Just whatever you want to share.
They were really great memories.
Yeah.
And um, baseball is a game that means a lot to me. And it's something that I definitely departed from the sport, as I feel like a lot of people do at a certain point in your life, and you just
Mhm.
get busy with other things. But to come back to that recently by way of my son who started T-ball last year, and to be living in a a city where we have a two-time world championship team has been
Yeah.
pretty special. But that game of baseball that's what connected my dad and I.
Mhm.
And he was my coach, he was my rock, he was there for me, and he always encouraged me, and he knew when he was no longer the right coach for me, he stepped back, but he was there at my games. And I'll never forget, he told me, he's like, "Look, Adam, when the game is no longer fun anymore, it's okay if you wanna step back and not play anymore."
Mhm.
And I think especially now where we are in a culture where parents push and push and push and drive their kids so hard, and I saw that where I grew up, but
Yeah.
I always respected my dad for saying that, and
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't gonna be a Major League Baseball player. I'm 5'8" and 160 pounds, like,
Yeah.
there's a handful of players that are that size.
Yeah.
Jose Altuve is one of them, and
Yeah.
I was
He's
like,
the
"I don't
guy.
like that guy." Um, but, no, it was really special, and we would go to the Orioles games. We would, um, just that was it, and I
Mhm.
was in love with the game, and, Field of Dreams is a classic movie that is still
Sure.
hits hard.
Of
But
course.
Ken Griffey Jr. is, he was my favorite player. He still is. I think he's arguably had the most style points and charisma out of any player, and at a time when, Albert Bell and Jose Canseco and all these guys were getting busted for performance enhancing drugs. Here's Griffey just kind of on the side, like, whether or not he did them, who knows? But like, he was never charged and convicted for it. And he just had fucking talent and swagger.
That
And
swing.
it
Yeah,
was
that swing. My God. Oh, my God. But best swing of all time. That's it. Bar none. That's it.
With the backwards hat,
Oh
just
my
this
God.
casual, like,
It was so cool. And who,
Yeah.
he has his hobby. He's a great photographer as well.
It's true. Him and Randy Johnson. I think it's a Seattle
Randy
Mariner
Johnson.
thing.
It must be. It must be. Yeah, the air up there. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love that he's doing that. And yeah, it's so funny because when you break it down to baseball is it's just a game. It is. But there's a connective tissue within the game, and it's just look. And I don't mean to. I do this sometimes in the show. I get a little morbid because I get a little introspective, but
Sure.
we're passing time between beginning and end, right?
Yeah.
So we have to find ways to do that, and we have to find conduits to time well spent. And for my money, and again, I never had an old man, but I do remember those great trips to McDonald's between doubleheaders with my mom and my teammates and da-da-da. And so, when you have your dad, and it's so special, and you can have a catch with your dad, I'm sure that was one of the most special things that you've ever done, like a la Field of Dreams. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can hold it together at the end of that movie. And if you can, you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
So, but what, and now what's your dad's name?
Wayne.
Okay, Wayne.
Yeah.
And so you sort of answered the question before I asked it, and that's totally great because you're a total pro. But my old man used to say, so he said, I love that he said that to you because, that you also highlighted the fact that we live in this super competitive youth sports nation right now where you're seeing people yelling at kids, arguing with umpires, throwing umpires on the ground.
Yeah.
It's insane. You don't think that's going to spoil the kid's appetite for the sport? So I think it's wonderful that he said that, and also gives insight to what kind of man he is. And
Yeah.
I think when you can have that, strong, firm hand, obviously, you have to have parameters for your child, and you were raised properly and with discipline, I'm sure. But at the same time, you have to balance that out. And it sounds like Wayne did that really nicely.
He did, and we've had a few moments since those kind of last games, which have been really special. There was when I first got out to LA, which was 2002. I think it was the following summer I had joined just a summer league because I was like, I missed the game. I was like, I'll pick it up, I'll play a little bit, it'll be fun. And eh, it was really cool because we had a game on Father's Day, and my dad was able to fly out and watch me play baseball as a 23-year-old in California, which growing up in Baltimore, it's like the dream is to play baseball in California. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it's just like
Yeah.
there was that component, which was really nice. And then more recently, when he was out here for Christmas and the holidays, we have a group of people. Our buddy Carrie, shout out to Carrie, who he puts on these like little batting practice days and get a group of guys who go out to the field and we just take batting practice. And so my dad
Yeah.
was able to come out and play with us for that. My brother was also there, which was really cool.
That's
And
great.
I think fucking getting emotional, but
That's all
what
right.
was really special about it was my son I had him take the day off from school. And so there's 3 generations of Reynolds on the field. And for my dad to watch Wesley play and to make some really good catches was really, really, really cool. And I think, Wesley loved that, the idea of like, oh, cool, I'm playing with dad, his brother, and grandpa, which was really awesome.
Of course.
So
Yeah,
it
and
lives on.
He's going to remember that. He'll remember that for his lifetime that day. And good on Carrie for putting that together. That's really cool. You need a guy like
Carrie's
him.
awesome.
You need one buddy like that just, he's living, he's got that yearbook ready to sign if he missed you 20
Yeah,
years ago,
he's got like he's like, "I keep a bucket of balls, some gloves, and some bats in my car. Like, I'm ready to play whenever."
That's the
I
best. That's the
Shout out to
best.
Carrie, though. I just wish you'd give us a little bit more heads up than like, "Hey, we're playing tomorrow at 10 AM." It's like, "Fucking Carrie, I got calls
Carrie,
scheduled. Give us a heads
Carrie,
up."
We got stuff going on, babe.
Yeah,
Come on, give
yeah.
us let's get like an Apple, like a Google Calendar going,
Yeah,
okay?
exactly,
No,
exactly.
that's good. That's all right. But I think that um, to be able to do something like that and just run around and be outside and goddamn that weather's great out there. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm freezing my ass off in here. I don't complain
I'm
about
sweating.
anything.
It's like 95 outside right now.
But okay, so I just wanted what are you creatively, what's going on? Tell me a little bit
Sure.
about what's next for you and what's in the hopper, the pipeline, and then I'll let you go. I don't wanna take
Sure.
up too much of your time.
No, this is great. I'm enjoying this. It's nice to just catch up. Um, Before we get into that, I want to say, just going back to baseball and passing that along. What's been really awesome is this Orioles hat is a Christmas gift for my son, and my daughter gave me a Dodgers hat because I didn't have a Dodgers hat until
Mhm,
Christmas, and it's been really cool to have a World Series winning team like the Dodgers,
mhm,
to see them get interested in the game and wanting to go to the games and watch the games on TV. And, my daughter, especially Eloise, she is so, eh, eh, her nickname is Baby Baseball, and, like, she helps kind of manage the little league team, and she
yeah.
likes after the game practice yesterday, she goes, "I don't know that this team has a lot of immediate potential, but I think the players, we can draw it out of them." And I'm like, "This is amazing. You're 11 and you're
Yeah,
kinda, like, helping with that." So, I think they see that joy in us as parents,
yeah,
and they kinda start to express interest in that, and I would say
mhm,
that, for any other parent that's out there that's looking at that hardship of trying to figure out and get through the day to day, it's important to still find that joy for yourself beyond
yeah,
just, "Oh, you're my kids." It's like, do those things that you still love, because your kids are gonna see that, they're gonna see the joy that comes from you and the fulfillment that you feel, and
sure.
they're gonna want that. And, I'm sure you've showed them the microphone and recording equipment and gotten them to record stuff, but
Yeah,
I keep a mixing board on the table right here in the garage, so when the kids come over, if they wanna fire up and, like, talk on the microphones and do some
yeah,
stuff, they can do it. And because they see me doing it. They know that
mhm,
I'm in that community. So that becomes, I think, a really important thing, just to kind of, again, create that safe space and opportunity for them to explore, which segues into your conversation about creative. And that's, both my parents were artists. They had that
mhm,
opportunity for me of like, here are crayons, here's paint, here's paper, go be creative. And
yeah,
so I didn't have a lot of structure necessarily growing up, but I had the freedom to be creative and to
mhm,
explore. And I think it's important that we create that for our kids as well. And that lends itself to where I am now. Creatively, what we're doing is, um, we are trying to build, and I shouldn't say trying, we are building what I feel the production company for this creator economy.
mhm,
And I say that in the sense of, you look at the larger landscape, traditional television production companies or commercial production companies and studio networks like Warner Brothers or Paramount. You have some disruptors like Netflix who come in, and yeah, they're streaming platforms, but they're still
mhm,
following a very traditional model, if you will. And where we are in the timeline for entertainment is really interesting, because we are on the cusp of Paramount buying Warner Brothers.
mhm,
What's gonna happen is a massive consolidation.
yeah,
Political affiliations and narratives aside, things are gonna consolidate. And in 6 months, whenever 8 months, whenever this deal goes through, you're gonna have Paramount and Warner Brothers and HBO, they're gonna get and CNN, they're gonna get
yeah,
gutted.
yeah,
You're gonna have a ton of high salary network executives that have had
mhm,
cush jobs, and they've worked their entire career to be in these positions, suddenly without a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And there isn't going to be a network or studio that's going to be able to hire and accommodate all of them
Yeah.
because we don't have that infrastructure anymore. And so, what is really interesting in that context is the creator economy is on the cusp of that larger boom. And
Mhm.
so, when you ask creatively, my creative fulfillment right now is honestly being able to put together the architecture for creatives to build out their own studio initiatives.
Right.
Like we're doing with Saraya.
Mhm.
You know, it's not just about the podcast. That's the foundation.
Mhm.
We are building a proper creator studio for her. We are building out her Patreon audience. We are building out content that gets released exclusively on Patreon through behind a paywall.
Mhm.
We have seen models where some of her friends are, I shit you not, they're pulling in between $300 to $500,000 a month in Patreon subscriptions.
Oh,
Now you think about that, you start to reinvest that money into original programming,
yeah.
original content, and suddenly you have these studios that are completely built without a major Paramount or Warner Brothers, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Fuck you. You didn't give us the time of day.
Sure.
You gate kept us, and
Yeah.
now
Oh,
we're
yeah.
building this more successfully and more streamlined, more efficiently than you ever could."
Of course.
And that to me is exciting creatively. And
Yeah.
part of that is it's validated because these things are happening. Again, we're going to continue to see this as this deal goes through. But also, it's like we've positioned Denim, our production company, kind of at that very important place where we help creators bridge the gap between the system that they built and the infrastructure they've built to get to that TV proper studio commercial
Mhm.
level. We slot ourselves in right there. And
Yeah.
in doing that, you know, you look at the likes of Jake Shane has made that leap. Alex
Mhm.
Earl is making that leap. Alex Cooper has made that leap. She's a client of ours. We were
Mhm.
just in Vegas for a shoot with her. Like we are and have been strategically positioning ourselves to help the creator economy get to that next level because frankly they need it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
just because, you know, you look at Mr. Beast, some of the stories that I've heard about their productions, it's like, oh, he still wants to hire his guy that he worked at, you know, back in the day. It's like, well, guess what? This guy doesn't know how to do this, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you have a ton of production issues. That's part of the reason I think why he's investing a lot of his own money because it's like he wants that control and ownership over that. But what's going to happen is they need most creators, like I'd say Alex Cooper, Steven Bartlett, Mr. Beast, you know, a bunch of other guys. They're the top like 5%.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
95%, they need support, they need infrastructure. So we're there to help them with that. And I would say what's also been really interesting is to see this grow organically. We're now, you know, we were hired by BBC Studios to come in and do the Dancing with the Stars podcast
Oh,
in the
okay.
fall. We
Nice.
just closed on the official American Idol companion podcast, which is going to be coming out when the season starts in the spring.
Great.
So it's like now you have these major studios that are now saying like, "Oh, we need to have a companion podcast. We need
Mhm.
how do you do this? Who are the teams to hire?" And
Yeah.
people are saying, "Call Adam, call Denim." And
There you go.
we're here. We're grateful for it. It's not going to last forever.
Yep.
So creatively what we're trying to do is, you know, we'll help you launch your show. We'll help you get this off the ground, and this is more deals with creators than it is networks,
Mhm.
but we are getting equity percentage of ad revenue and
Mhm.
ownership in that property that we're helping develop. And we're not trying to be a studio where we take 100% of that or
Yeah.
50% of that. It's like, I'd rather have 10% of 25 different properties
Sure.
than 50% or 100% of two or three.
Yeah.
And we're trying to be very creator economy friendly. And that to me is really exciting from a creative standpoint because it's an architecture and
Yeah.
you get to have fun and you get to meet people and we get to do things like this where it's like, cool, let's help open this door. And Andrew,
Hmm.
great. You've gotten to the point where your show is getting 10,000 downloads an
Hmm.
episode. Let's talk to this network. Let's help this network open this door and let's make those leaps and changes. So,
Yeah.
um, that to me is fulfilling. And again, coming back to your question earlier about success, in addition to being a present parent, helping the people that you have known along the way, that's success. And knowing that it's a team that's been there uh, together in one version or another since the very beginning, that's success. And those are the little wins that I try to celebrate.
Well, absolutely. And it's a perfect sentiment and a really when that's the tapestry of your life, when you can have all that entire alchemy going for you, I think you're doing something really right and you're helping people. And I think it's going to work out. And look,
Thanks, man.
I loved work. I've loved working with you over the years. That Reynolds text comes through, I get all excited, that little dopamine hit, like, all right, what do we got going on, baby? Let's go. You get me psyched up. And
Yeah.
well, and let's hope we could do that down the road. But Adam, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being on
Of
the show,
course.
man. I really appreciate it and looking out for everything you're doing and we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Israel. Before we go, I do have a quick question
Yes.
for you because you
Yes.
obviously had a pretty good career and background in baseball. Were
Yeah.
you a Rawlings guy or were you a Wilson guy?
I was a Wilson catcher's mitt. Yeah, Wilson catcher's mitt.
Really?
I'm gonna tell you why. I had Rawlings in high school and then Wilson in college, and you know why I had Wilson in college? They were always a little bit lighter, but I had
Yes.
Wilson in college because, as a Crash Davis used in Bull Durham. I know,
That's
big
amazing.
nerd.
That's amazing.
And
No,
I
but I
used to
mean,
watch I used to
no,
watch
go
it when
for it.
I was that was like kids now watch, I don't know, what do they watch at 8 years old? Something on Nickelodeon. I was watching Bull Durham and,
Yeah.
Major League. But
Yeah.
yeah, Rawlings is great though. I used Rawlings in high school for sure.
Well, that was the thing is I was a Rawlings guy growing up, and I actually I brought my glove collection out because I wanted to quickly
Oh my
go through
gosh.
this. But so
This
this
is so nice.
this glove is the Rawlings Pro 1000H,
Ooh,
and I got this glove for Christmas. Not this specific glove, but I
mhm,
got this glove for Christmas in high school. I think it was my freshman year.
yeah,
My dad and I had gone to a game, an Orioles game, and I decided to leave my glove in the car for whatever reason. And
okay.
after the game, we go back, my dad's car was stolen
Ah,
and the glove was gone and they stopped making the glove and I couldn't get another one. So for the longest time I thought about this thing and I'm like I like that was the greatest glove of all time. Well, a couple months ago I went on eBay
mm,
and I was just like, let's see if I can find it. And I found the glove and it is like perfectly broken in. It is
wow.
so well oiled.
I
And then it
see it.
sent
I
me
see that oil stain,
oh,
yeah.
and then it
I
sent me
love
down
it.
this path of like, oh, because this was right around the time of like having the twins, and I'm like, I am stressed out. And I was like, well, what other good gloves are there out there? So then I found another guy on eBay that had multiple gloves, and
Oh, jeez.
he had this one, which is the Rawlings Pro 204 DCC,
That's a good glove too, yeah.
which is
Nice
super
infused glove.
soft, and I
Yeah.
love this. This was great to break in. And then he also had this Pro 200 4RT, which this thing has
Ooh,
been a beast to break in.
look at that web. It's all that look
Oh,
at that webbing, yeah.
but like
Wow.
this thing was great. And he's like, dude, you gotta try the Wilson A2000 1786. And
Yeah,
at first I was like, I don't really like this thing, but I was like, oh, I get it now. Like to your point,
yeah.
it's lighter, it's
It's light.
soft. There's something about it. It's like, this is kind of a fun glove. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
rotate between them and playing catch and everything. And
That's
yeah,
the
it's a good
best.
time.
It's the best, and you're able to sort of go down memory lane, but live in the present as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's the toggle of fatherhood, right? Tapping into what we once were and what our kids will be, and we pass
Yeah.
that along as much as we can.
Yeah.
Adam, this is really great, man. Thank you so
A
much.
pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
All
I
right,
appreciate it. All right.
all right.
Bye.
Thank you, brother. Bye. I hope you guys had a great time. I had a great time. Just hanging out with a friend, with a fellow dad, with a fellow creative. I love talking shop. I love talking about the the business of show that won't let me in the front door, so I'm trying to go through the side. I'm trying my ass off. But Adam, he's doing his thing. He's doing a great job with the Rulebreakers podcast, and it's just so fun seeing him do his thing and hearing about his kids and talking baseball. And it was really nice catching up with him. So I hope you enjoyed it. Fatherless Cheat Sheet, new episodes every Thursday, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram. Reach out, say hey. I'll say hey back. Fatherless Cheat Sheet.